Under the new manager, the Ross County players are out on the pitch. You can see the Celtic players now coming out. James Forrest with the trophy there. So let's get the action underway. Let's cross to Celtic Park. Full commentary to come with the champions against Ross County with Pat Bonner, Michael Stewart and Liam McLeod. Before kick-off, Liam, an occasion that is always very, very special for players, coaching staff and the fans alike.
Yes, indeed. Flag Day at Celtic Park. The Scottish Cup and the League Cup are on the plinth in front of the flag right now as James Forrest walks onto the Celtic Park pitch with the Premiership trophy in his hands, and it's been here so often over the last 10, 11, 12 years now. He's been accustomed to seeing these scenes on the opening day. James Forrest puts the trophy down and makes his way to the platform behind there. And before they get down to the business of winning a 54th league title, Celtic will celebrate the 53rd, which came amidst their world record treble. They now have 8 of those, more than anyone else, and they are hungry for more. As the rest of the Celtic team make their way out, there is a guard of honour being formed by the Ross County starting 11. The Celtic players led out by captain Callum McGregor. Another hugely decorated Celtic player. The traditional unfurling of the league flag's a symbolic moment. It's probably fitting that the man to do it this year is James Forrest. It's the 32-year-old's testimonial year. Indeed, it is testimonial match here the other night against Athletic Club, and it's the man who made his debut on the 1st of May 2010 against Motherwell. Here he scored after replacing Aidan McGeady that day. He's gone on to amass 22 major honours for the club. Only Bobby Lennox and Billy McNeil managed more, and frankly, if it weren't for injury, he'd be threatening those two in the Celtic annals as well, as he hoists the flag up the pole, and Celtic Park will celebrate last season one more time. Paddy Bonner, a brief moment of reflection for the Celtic players. It was a wonderful time under Ange Postecoglou, who's since departed after the Scottish Cup victory at the start of June. But this, just a brief moment to look back at what was another historic season for this club.
Yeah, it was incredible. 8 trebles, which is a world record. And of course, the style of play also that we witnessed last year, where it was quite breathtaking at times. Fell away near the end, but that was natural probably. But at the most of the season, I think they played to a level that we probably haven't seen too many teams in Celtic's history play to that level of attacking football, which was quite exhilarating at times. And all of these players fitted into it. Technically very, very good. Intensity was there. The Japanese guys have definitely brought that sort of almost intensity to the club, and the rest have responded. But of course, Ange Postecoglou, who's no longer here, was a big part of it. And now that's over. They will have to now kick on again, because every season, every year is different, and every season the pressure and responsibility is there to continue in the same mode of winning trophies.
It's funny, Michael, isn't it? For many occasions last season, maybe the season before, we compared Ange Postecoglou's Celtic with the Brendan Rodgers invincible side, and now the man who led Celtic to the invincible treble and many other trophies in his time here is back, and it's a stellar appointment, you would have to say.
Absolutely. I mean, look, I said it at the time when it was being mooted that Ange Postecoglou was about to leave and that Brendan Rodgers was available. You could not get a better appointment. You couldn't get a better replacement. And, you know, the Celtic board have gone out and done everything they could to get the man back in, and I think it's a real sign of intent. It's a tremendous appointment from Celtic's perspective. And, yeah, I think, you know, Brendan Rodgers has also got, not prickly at all, but I think he is just keen to remind everybody that he was the one that really kicked the club onto another level. And Ange Postecoglou, he was able to continue that after a terrible season that Celtic had when they missed out on 10 in a row. But this man that's in charge now, he took Celtic to a different level that everybody else has been trying to catch up to. and I'm sure, and I can sense it when he's talking, he's keen to remind everybody about that.
Pretty mild day here in Glasgow. Grey clouds above, but not too much in the way of wind as Ross County get the 23-24 Premiership season underway here at Celtic Park in the all navy blue with white flashes right to left, shooting towards the Jockstein stand, and immediately the first corner of the season comes 10 seconds in, and it goes to the visitors as it was nodded behind there by the new signing Mike Nawrocki. Chance for Ross County early in the piece here.
Yeah, they played that ball long, and which is the right idea to test out this Celtic defence, and of course Jordan White winning the ball, the first header, and creating the pressure on Celtic.
Jan Danda's outswinging corners headed away by Kyogo at the near post, and Turnbull will pick it up and slip it through to Maidan. He is away, driving forward like a ferret across the halfway line, options right and left, and then he's pinched off him brilliantly by Laturi as Randall collects in the middle of the park. He's starting in the middle corner. Randall looking to spray it out, long ball with the right foot out to Murray, who controls wide on the left, level with the Celtic penalty spot, up against Ralston, just rolling it back the way it breaks to Jan Danda, looking to get the ball into the middle. Murray goes for it, round about the penalty spot. He's managed to get it under control, shifts it out wide right, not sure that that's what he intended, but he's found James Brown, whose cross ball is headed clear. What a good bright start to the game this is by Ross County.
Very good, very good. They've been able to get into the final third on a few occasions here. They've just poor quality into the box, which has affected them, but they've got good height as well. You know, set plays are going to play a part, going to ask questions of Celtic, who are not the tallest side. We've got obviously Baldwin, who's on the ball just now. Nightingale's a good size, and then Jordan White up top is always going to be an aerial threat. So from set pieces, Ross County will be a threat.
And a really poor pass by Josh Sims in the midfield there, but Celtic can't profit and make anything happen. So it's Laturi picks it up, Callum McGregor batters it back off Laturi, pings around in the middle, then it's forced out wide left for Danda. Danda slipping it to Laturi, he's at the byline, pulls it back, great chance here, Murray across, and then it just goes wide. I think it's come off the County man last. It will be a goal kick to come off Josh Sims inside the 6-yard area. Brilliant play by County down this left hand side. It was pulled back from the byline, but the ricochet as it broke to Murray doesn't go past Joe Hart. It goes behind for the goal kick.
That should have been a goal, Liam. It really should. That occasion, Ross County walked in a really good area, and when Laturi got to the byline, he's picked out Simon Murray well, and the striker did pretty well to be able to first of all get his touch and then be able to swivel, and I'm surprised he didn't get the shot off on target. You know, he played it across the goal for Josh Sims, who wasn't able to get the touch on it, but very, very dangerous play there from Ross County. Yeah,
and the key was winning the ball in the middle of the pitch. As soon as Celtic tried to step out, they hit them on the counter-attack at one time, but they almost attack themselves, Ross County, by winning that ball back, and that's going to be their key feature today, I think.
0-0 3 minutes in, but Ross County have started the brighter. Celtic in possession though, as the sun tries to creep through from the clouds above. It's Ralston getting it from Abada and then back to Carter Vickers. The two managers at the edge of their technical areas. Brendan Rodgers resuming his position at the right angle of the technical area down below us. The home one to the left of Malky Mackay as it's picked up by Abada on this near side. He's level with the edge of the D of the County box. Abada leaves it onto the touchline for Ralston, back to O'Reilly, and now with McGregor, the skipper, who finds Taylor, and now it's Carter Vickers. Interesting there to see Greg Taylor moving into that inverted fullback position, which he did so well under Postecoglou when he's picked up that position again. It might be just so natural to him now to be in that position.
I think that's the fact, is that it is natural, and I thought he played extremely well, playing that sort of almost tactic last year. I think it raised his game to a different level. He was picking up great positions, he was getting on the ball, he was technically very, very good, but he was also almost on the front foot when he got into those positions.
Celtic with Carter Vickers charging towards the County box, rolls it low out to the right hand side for Abada, level with the penalty spot. Celtic flickering into life here. Little ball to O'Reilly, back out wide right for Ralston. Ralston looking for a little bit of space to work in here. See, moves towards the box, elects to roll it back to O'Reilly, who finds Taylor, who's popped up in the right midfield position. So another example of what Taylor's all about. Now it's Abada getting it from Ralston. The challenge comes and down goes Tony Ralston. The linesman has the flag in there. It's going to be a free kick. There might have been an even worse foul just in the immediate aftermath of that one, but it's going to be a free kick for Celtic out on this near side. Jordan White was the clumsy county player, but it was the free kick for the challenge just before that was given, and it's level with the penalty spot. Chance here for Celtic.
Yeah, and I just wonder whether Nawrowski, who has gone up for this one, he looks tall, he looks a guy who could actually be a powerhouse in the air. Will he get on the end of it?
O'Reilly takes left-footed into the 6-yard box, headed away. Baldwin, I think, got the header onto it. Laturi didn't know much about the head at the edge of the box, but it's done the job as it's swept out to Danda on this near side. And then the long clearance by George Harman, just picked up brilliantly by Murray. Murray driving down the left-hand side, checks his run, being marshalled by Taylor over on the reverse side. Danda for Sims. Sims has it in the middle of the pitch, firing it back low into the centre circle. There for Nightingale. Out wide right, the cross ball comes in from Brown, headed clear by Ralston. A decent header as well. I think he was fouled, and it'll be a free kick to Celtic inside their own penalty area, and it will stay Celtic 0, Ross County 0 on 6.
That was excuse me, that was good play from the referee Nick Wilson. He just waited a couple of seconds to see whether Celtic were going to be able to regain possession and counter-attack. They didn't, and then he just blows the whistle for the free kick because Simon Murray had just come through the back of Anthony Ralston.
Long ball flipped out towards Dan down this near side in an attacking position. Spent plenty of time in the attacking third so far. County. Here's Danda dancing along the 18-yard line, little chip ball in, headed away by Nawrocki, picked up by Randall, who moves it back the way to Nightingale, who plays it to Danda at close quarters. Poor ball from Danda straight to Taylor, and Celtic have it back with Turnbull to McGregor and out to Greg Taylor.
They had a little chance there, Ross County, down this left-hand side to do it almost a 2v1. Danda didn't take on, I think it was Josh Sims who was overlapping on the outside, and Celtic were in a weak position because they were up against a 2v1, but they didn't exploit it, Ross County.
Absolutely, Packy. I mean, it was so obvious, the 2v1, that Danda had to slip it for the overlap and run, and then Ralston's going to be, caught on his heels. He's not going to be able to catch the run. All he needs to do is just slide it into the path of, I think it was Harman that was making that run, and he would be through, in behind the defence.
Celtic haven't lost in the opening day of the league season when at home since 1950, when Jimmy McGrory's team were beaten 4-3 by Morton. They've only lost one opening day league fixture once out of the last 26. That was at Hearts 2 seasons ago, and dates back to 1997 when they were beaten at Hibs on what was Henrik Larsson's Celtic debut. As Taylor shifts it back to Nawrocki. And now with Carter Vickers. At walking pace, out to Abada, but it was well read by Harman. It was back to Carter Vickers, and of course, Mikey, in an alternate reality, Ross County are hosting Raith Rovers today in their first match back in the Championship. 20 minutes to go in the playoff final. That's what it was looking likely. What a turnaround it was as the clip ball by Celtic finds Maida inside the box, and it's a wild kind of effort which he hits with a left foot, and it goes well past, and it stays after 8 minutes. Yeah, Celtic 0, Ross County 0. Mikey.
Touching on that playoff, I mean, it was an incredible game, a wonderful result for Ross County, and for football in the north of Scotland and the Highlands as well. It's important that they have a club that's represented in the top flight, and they've done wonderfully well over the last decade or so, Ross County. But yeah, I mean, look, that playoff final, I don't think anybody, you and I were there, Liam, we were not expecting the outcome with 20 minutes to go or so. And that's testament to the Ross County players, that they were able to see it through. I think they have a better team, a better squad this season. The big challenge for them is that the league's strong. The likes of Hibs, Hearts and Aberdeen making up that top six. The ability to be able to break into the top six is difficult, and then it becomes not a great margin for error in the bottom six. But I do think they have enough to be able to steer themselves away from a relegation fight.
Yeah, I mean, unless one of the Edinburgh clubs at Aberdeen have a shocker, you would only expect there to be one available top six space left. Of course, it was St Mirren who achieved it last season. Celtic on the ball here. It is Ralston, level with the edge of the D of his own box. It was Partick Thistle who host Raith Rovers in this very city in the Championship later, and Thistle were so close to the top flight themselves Open all mics, there's full coverage from 3 o'clock today of the rest of the matches, and then at 5:15 Kilmarnock Rangers. Celtic in possession with Taylor, low ball to Abada. Ahead of him is Turnbull. Maida's in the box as well. Abada stretching his legs into the area. The chip ball across. Shout for handball. Was behind for at the very least a corner, but I think it's actually gone County's way.
Yeah, it was good defending actually by Harman, and Ross County obviously have gone to their back four today, with Harman playing left back, and he's up against Abada, but that was really good defending in a 1v1 situation. He didn't dive in, he just waited and waited, and eventually when the cross was coming, that's when he went to ground and got his block in and came back off Abada for the goal kick. So it's been a good start from County. They've matched Celtic so far. Celtic looking a little bit dangerous on when they pick up those loose balls and they go and attack very quickly, more counter-attacking system.
Here come County down the right hand side with Sims. He's going to get there. He's managed to pull it across and win the corner off Nawrocki. Again, it's a really intelligent ball actually. Murray was offside, he left it, and it was dinged through towards Sims on the right hand side of the box, and he's won his team a corner.
Very good play. Ross County have been bright. You know, Malcolm Mackay will be delighted. It's only, you know, just over 11 minutes in, but he'll be absolutely delighted with the way that his side have started this game so far.
It's as good as anyone visiting here last season started a match. Outswinger from Danda. Again, it's a poor one though, headed away by the first player, but first defender, but it breaks Sims' way. He goes down, challenged by Maida. Now Turnbull forward to Kyogo, looking to shift it through towards Abada, but he gets it all wrong.
Yeah, it was the right idea. He wanted to play that ball first time. Here's Ross County on the attack. Murray
into the box, looking to get on the right foot, gets the break of the ball, shoots, and it's blocked and behind for the corner to County. Simon Murray's holding his head in his hands. He thinks that's going in, but for the block. Came off the defender, I think, and behind for the County corner.
Yeah, I think it was Carter Vickers that maybe got a block on that, was it?
Joe Hart's saving it though. I don't think he's been able to find the corner with his strike. Once it's deflected, there's a split second you're wondering whether it's going to go in the other corner. But Ross County are doing that. They're peeling into this inside left channel.
Danda takes their third corner. It's headed away by Kyogo. It was a better delivery this time, but Kyogo underneath it as Baldwin goes down, brings Maida down. Play on, says the referee though. Here's Brown down the right hand side for the Staggies. Pulls it back to the right angle of the box for Sims. Chips it across, blocked by McGregor, and then Taylor puts it out
another
for a
corner
throw on the far side.
Corner.
Well, he's given corner, yeah.
I mean, I was just saying before, Simon Murray on a number of occasions here has just peeled into this inside left channel. Danda's been able to pick the ball up. You know, Packy was talking about before when Harman was coming round on the overlap. That inside left is where they're getting a little bit of joy, and they've been able to open up Celtic on a few occasions.
Fourth corner for Ross County in the opening 12 and a half, and it comes towards Baldwin. Can't do anything with it though. It comes off the top of his head and out for a throw-in on the reverse side, this main stand side. Celtic throw-in, Celtic nil, Ross County nil. We played 13 and Ross County the better team.
The one thing that's surprising is that I'm sure Malky Mackay would have been expecting better from set plays. They've had 4, as you said, inside opening 12 minutes, and they've not really been able to get anybody on the end of any of them.
Awkward ball back to Hart, takes a touch. Simon Murray's gone down, and the referee waves his arms to say there was no infringement, and behind it goes for the goal kick.
Oh wow, that was a big moment in the game. It looked like a penalty initially, but he can almost try to stay up and then went to ground afterwards, so it'll be a really debatable one. They'll check it on VAR, there's no question about that.
Well, Leanne's in the studio, and as soon as Leanne's had a chance to see a replay, we'll get her taking it. But that's a poor ball by Nawrocki, looking for Carter Vickers. He puts it out for Ross County's 5th corner of the game, and it looks as though a very quick VAR decision's been made. No foul. Leanne, did you get a chance to see that?
Yeah, I've just had a quick look at it there, Liam, and it was tricky initially, but I would actually need to agree. I don't think there looks like there's contact. I feel like Simon Murray was almost anticipating that the contact was going to come, but there was nothing there.
It's a chance for Murray then in that case, as Danda takes the corner. Hart punches with both fists.
Well, it's a huge chance, Liam. I mean, you're not really going to get a better opportunity than that, because I think looking at it in real time, you feel as if it's going to be a penalty because you anticipate there is going to be contact, and clearly that's what has happened to Simon Murray, because otherwise it's not very difficult. All he needs to do is just get a slight touch on it past the goalkeeper, and he has an open goal to knock it into. A really bad mistake from Joe Hart, really bad, because you know it's quite clear that Anthony Ralston is not kicking the ball back to him. No. So he just needs to grab it with his 2 hands.
Well, that's the question. I think he was in doubt that the ball was played back, and it was at chest height. and he made the decision to try to chest it and play it, but Simon Murray was on him like a flash, and he couldn't really do that. So it was a difficult one for him, Michael. I'm not saying that it was that he should have probably had it first time, waited for it, but certainly it was a huge moment.
Celtic on the ball. Here's Nawrocki driving forward up to the final third. He goes, his pass finds Kyogo, back to Maida. His efforts charge down really well, and then that might be a penalty to Celtic here. The referee points to the spot. Greg Taylor upended by Sims, I think it was, just inside the area, and just minutes, less than that in fact, less than 2 minutes after Simon Murray thought he should have had a penalty up the other end, the champions will have the chance to hit the front.
Well, my gut instinct is that it is a penalty. Yeah, interested to see David Turnbull stepping up to take the penalty, but it's a classic case of the Ross County player Josh Sims. The ball's going over, he's not watching or seeing where the player is, he's ball watching, he dangles a leg out, and Greg Taylor gets there first. Now the replays may prove different, but that was my instinctive thought, was that it was a penalty kick.
Michael, you can also see the reaction from Josh Sims himself. As soon as he did it, he can almost knew he didn't react in the way that a defender would actually almost go after the referee. He kind of stood there with his hands in his head. But what a moment, because at the end of the day, Ross County have done so well up to this point.
Big moment this for David Turnbull. Just 6 league starts last season, and he's entrusted with the task of scoring Celtic's first goal of the season. Turnbull waits to take, right-footed penalty up against Laidlaw. Here he goes and fires it home into the bottom right corner of the net. The first Premiership goal of the season belongs to the champions, and it belongs to David Turnbull, who smashes it home into the bottom right corner. They've been up against it at times in this league opener, but it is Celtic 1, Ross County 0 on 17 minutes.
Yeah, a really good finish from David Turnbull. He obviously high in confidence. The manager believes in him. He's in the team, and he stepped up and made no problem from that strike low into the left-hand corner with pace. The goalkeeper going the wrong way. So Celtic get that opening goal in a game where they probably, maybe it's against that Ross County's absolutely ahead of them as far as chances are concerned, being even territory where they're probably more in Celtic's half than Celtic have been in the Ross County half.
I mean, 17 minutes in, I don't think many people would be surprised to see Celtic are 1-0 in front, but they would be very surprised to understand and hear that it's firmly against the run of play. There's no question. I've seen the replay, the penalty kick. In fact, I'd be even more critical of Josh Sims because he sees it.
Here comes Celtic again. Maida cross, blocked by Nightingale, breaks at the left angle of the area for Turnbull, stabbed into the box by Taylor, and then cleared by Nightingale again.
Just touching on that, Liam, you know, I think he's got time to recognise that Taylor's going to get the ball, and he doesn't need to dangle the leg out. Absolutely 100% contact penalty kick, but my first thought was it was just one of those that you're instinctively, the ball's going over your shoulder, you don't see the opponent, you dangle a leg out. I think he's got time to recognise that he doesn't need to do it, and that Greg Taylor's clearly going to get the ball first. The fact that David Turnbull steps up to take the penalty kick, I think is brilliant. Just purely from a selfish perspective and a Scottish supporter, this guy's a great young Scottish talent who was on the periphery. A lot of real talent and competition in the middle of the park for Celtic, but him stepping up to take that penalty shows you he's full of confidence and that he's got the belief of his manager as well.
That was his 25th Celtic goal. David Turnbull, as County pick up a free kick just to the right of their own box, and it is James Brown who was fouled, the Dubliner playing over there in that far side. He was actually the player of the year packy at Drogheda 2021. James Brown, he's out there on the right hand side for the Staggies.
Yeah, and he's getting himself into great forward positions just to finally put one really good cross in. Another one was blocked, so it's about that sort of consistency of getting, when you're in that position, and what Jordan White, who's a big striker, you've got to put the ball in there for him to go and attack on a consistent basis.
I saw him last week for the first time, Liam, and I was impressed, particularly in the first half. I thought he looks like a good acquisition for Ross County, playing right back, but as Packy said, more than capable and willing to get forward, and when he did get forward I thought his deliveries were not bad.
There's Jordan White battling for it on the right. He gets away from his man, drives out to the touchline, tries to cross in, and eventually I think goes over the line for a county throw over on that far side. So Celtic leading 1-0. We've ticked on to the 20-minute mark here in Glasgow. David Turnbull converting the penalty. It's going to be a big test of the Ross County mentality now, because they had been the better team. They'd started well, yet they find themselves in a position so many teams do when they come here, behind against Celtic, and looking to try and launch a reply here. In comes the long throw. It's not dealt with well at all. Headed away by O'Reilly in the end. Abada looking to complete the clearance. His header goes straight to Murray though. Now Danda swivels, crosses with the left. Diving header away by O'Reilly. And it breaks kindly for him to Taylor. Up the line looking for Maida as Loturi battles to win it back for County. Maida puts it out for a throw-in, and it's a County ball on the far side. It's been a decent reaction from the County players to going behind.
It has, and look, I think it's worth taking note of what Malcolm Mackay was saying before the game in regards to, you sit back and you try to soak up the pressure from Celtic, then eventually they will break you down and they will score a goal, and I couldn't agree more with that sentiment.
Likewise, Michael, and you know, I've always said it, if you're going to come and take Celtic on, you go and pressurise them higher up the pitch. Don't let them build the game and pin yourself back on the edge of your box where they can almost then pick you off. You've got to take a risk in that manner. And I know it's difficult coming to Silly Park. It's a big pitch, big crowd, but if you're brave enough, you might get the result.
I mean, the thing is, it's not a case of being, you know, foolhardy and going gung-ho. Pressurise further up the park, but the key is that your team unit is a collective. There's no gaps between the lines. There's no point in the front and the middle going and pressing and the defence are deep, but as long as you're keeping the team collective tight, then I'm firmly of the view that you go and try to engage higher up the park.
Fixture computer wasn't exactly kind to County. They faced Celtic and Rangers in 2 of their first 3 matches of the league season. Rangers are in Dingwall in a few weeks' time. The league games next weekend. The League Cup last 16 takes centre stage the weekend after, as Carter Vickers goes after it on this near side. Of course, Celtic have Champions League group stage football to look forward to. Still a chance. Incidentally, they could be in pot 3 for that. It's only a chance though, as Carter Vickers goes back the way to Hart at the edge of his box. We're approaching the end of the first quarter. 1-0 Celtic.
Sorry, Liam. Just looking at Celtic's midfield also. You know, last year we've seen where Cal McGregor was an out-and-out holding player as such. They'd always won there, and then 2 really high up the pitch, almost up nearly level with the striker. I think there's a little bit more rotation. If you watch Matt O'Reilly's position, he's kind of almost going high and then dropping back in alongside McGregor to get on the ball. Turnbull's taking up a higher position, so that almost switches from a one sitting player to 2, and that bit more rotation. And that's again probably going back to where Brendan Rodgers had in his tactics when he was here first time around.
Offside flag was up against Simon Murray. It's going to be a free kick to Celtic, which Carter Vickers is going to take. He squares it to Mike Nawrocki in his competitive Celtic debut. The 2 managers down there, of course, were once upon a time in charge of the 2 biggest clubs in Wales, Swansea City and Cardiff City. And Brendan Rodgers was at the former, Mackay at the latter. The long ball for Celtic was behind for the goal kick to County, which Ross Laidlaw will take. He was magnificent in the playoff, and knew more so the first leg in Glasgow when Partick Thistle were threatening to run amok. County were 1-0 down and down to 10 men inside about 10-11 minutes. Somehow they got out with a 2-0 defeat, and were 3-0 down in aggregate with 20 to play of that playoff final, as we were discussing earlier. Ross Laidlaw and Conor Randall actually put in some incredible blocks in that first leg across the city here at Firhill, as Joe Hart collects ball at his feet, rolls it short to Carter Vickers and out to Ralston on this near side.
Am I right in saying that the pitch is a little bit sticky? You know, it looks great from where we are, but it looks as if the ball isn't flying around on it what we normally see, Michael. I don't know what you feel on that. It doesn't suit Celtic when it is a little bit sticky. That's the point.
Yeah, I would agree that it's not as slick as you would normally see, but I think part of the fact that things are a little bit disjointed for Celtic is due to Ross County. You know, I think they've got to take a lot of credit here. They've stepped up and they are going and trying to pressurise Celtic. They're not allowing them to gain easy possession and build.
Callum McGregor winning it back wide in the left from Sims, rolls it short to Turnbull in the turn, faced by the County box. He is an effort from distance which trundles through to Laidlaw, who flops down onto it, diving to his right, and it will remain at 1-0 to the home team.
I mean, it ends up being an easy save for Ross Laidlaw, but David Turnbull has got a fantastic knack of being able to hit the target. You know, whenever he has a strike, he's working the goalkeeper. He choked it a little bit, but he's still working that goalkeeper.
Turnbull's done well. He's headed into the path of Abada. Kyogo's waiting. He gets there and scores! Classic Kyogo! And it's a brilliantly worked goal by Celtic as well. Abada charging down the right from the flick from Turnbull. And once it's put in the plate for Kyogo, you know what's going to happen. He's off the mark for the season. The first of many, you would imagine. Celtic 2, Ross County 0.
Yeah, made by Turnbull, winning that ball in the middle of the pitch, anticipated the header, got there first, flicked it on, a batted end. I thought Ross County could have maybe actually had a little bit of luck and cleared it, but it's gone through the defender. And then when it comes to the shot, yes, listen, as Kyogo, he almost gives the goalkeeper, I think, the eyes probably, and the goalkeeper can almost stick out a leg instead of maybe going with his hand and diving, and then he was well beaten from that probably execution. So yeah, Celtic got 2-0 up and in a good position at the moment.
Here's the thing, I don't think it's a particularly great ball from Abada. You know, it's a wee bit behind him, a little bit, but it's it's bouncing into him. It's a good finish from Kyogo. It's not an easy finish at all. And now you're in a situation where, as good as Ross County have been, they're 2-0 down inside 25 minutes or so, and it becomes a very, very tough afternoon, because you know that Celtic are going to start to dominate the game at some stage, and their tails are up here. They're 2-0 up. David Turnbull's enjoying his afternoon because Packy's absolutely spot on there. He's quick and he's alert. He gets onto that loose ball and flicks it on, and Ross County's defence are ripped wide open.
Flat-footed there, weren't they?
They were, yep.
So Celtic double their lead, 2-0. Standard scoreline, really, 2-0 up against a rival in this league at home after this length of time, but they've been nowhere near their best. But there you go, Kyogo.
And that's the thing, Liam.
Making it 2, yeah.
Nowhere near their best, but they're 2-0 up. You know, it's Malky Mackay, he'll be scratching his head thinking, we've played really well here, we're 2-0 down, and he'll be a wee bit concerned, because you don't want this to turn into a rout.
Nawrocki driving forward out wide left for Maida. The left angle of the box, moving in field, plays it short to Nawrocki again, who rolls it back to McGregor. Nawrocki, the new signings to start the game for Celtic today. I expect we'll see 2 or 3 of the ones on the bench today at some point. The 2 South Koreans who've come in to join their compatriot Oh Hyun-gyu, and the young Norwegian Holm as well is listed among the replacements today. 28 in, and Celtic 2, Ross County 0. It's back at the feet of Joe Hart. He had a really nervy start to the game, and there's another ball back to him from McGregor, which he wasn't really wanting, I suspect, and then free kick given away by Sims over on the far side of Nawrocki. Celtic free kick left of their box.
The one thing you can see straight away is that Nawrocki is a lot more comfortable on the ball than Karel Starfelt. You'd be forgiven for thinking it could be Karel Starfelt from a distance. They're very similar in stature, but the Pole is much more comfortable in possession, which you probably feel is one of the main reasons why Brendan Rodgers perhaps is looking to build with him at left centre half and contemplating letting Karel Starfelt leave.
And to be honest, if you bring a player in and you're happy with him, get him into the team. You know, get him used to the atmosphere, get him used to the other players, build relationships. He's made a little mistake early on in this game where he's
checking a red card here. Now, Jack Baldwin was shown the yellow, the first yellow of the season, for a foul just outside the centre circle in the Celtic half. I don't know if Leanne's had a chance to have a look at it, but they're they're checking for a possible red card here, Leanne.
Yeah, it's a nasty one, Liam, I would need to say. I don't think it's overly intentional in terms of the contact, but it is full studs right down the back of the Achilles, so a real sore one if you're a player. And it'll be interesting to see how Nick Walsh, if he's asked to come over to view this, or how the VAR team and Greg Aitken will look at it in the studio.
Well, Malky Mackay will be concerned for sure, because his team already 2-0 down here in Glasgow and facing the prospect of possible upgrading of the yellow. It looks as though no red card, so the on-field decision stands. Jack Baldwin is booked, and he's the first player booked in the Premiership this season. The Ross County skipper, as it goes back to Joe Hart, and Malky Mackay will be breathing a sigh of relief, because that would have been an awful thing for his team to have to go through, given how far back they are in this match.
It would have been brutal. There would have been no way back. And I've got to be honest, I've seen it, and I think good decision from the officials there. I think Nick Walsh got the decision right, and there is no doubt in my mind that it wasn't a clear and obvious mistake. And I think it's worth looking at again from the VAR officials, but I think they've come to the right decision there.
Flip ball forward by Laturi, looking for Sims, but Hart read it, comes from outside his box and launches it clear. Underneath it with the header is Baldwin, out to this near side where Harman will try and keep it in play. Down he goes. Malky Mackay felt he was fouled, and it's going to be a throw-in, and it's going to be a Celtic throw-in, 31 in.
Yeah, just going back to the other point on Baldwin, he's obviously going so deep into midfield. And you know, when you're a centre half and you can almost asked to go in there, you almost have to do something. You've got to make contact with the ball or the player. Don't let the player turn, and he's getting really tight. Now he's under pressure because he's been booked. If he goes back in there again, now he can't do anything, and he could get found out.
Ross County have only ever won once here. It was a fairly spectacular one when they ended Celtic's long domestic cup record in November 2020. Ross Stewart and Alex Iacovitti scored in a 2-0 win. Celtic had won their previous 35 cup ties, most of those under the current manager, of course. As Carter Vickers collects and moves it up towards the halfway line. Now he crosses it, turns and pokes it to his right for Ralston. His through ball forward is cut out. He was looking for O'Reilly. Harman's in the way. It's now with Danda. He goes back to Baldwin, booked a moment ago, and he's put his pass straight out of the pitch for a Celtic throw-in on this near side. All of a sudden Celtic looking so comfortable, 2-0 up, weathered the opening 10 minutes or so. I think 11 minutes on the clock, and Ross County had 4 corners, not 5.
Yeah, that was a critical period for Ross County. They needed to try to get something out of that sort of dominance that they had. They'd made some chances, but they weren't able to test really Joe Hart and put the ball in the back of the net on any occasion. So yeah,
what is it they say about when you take your shot at the king? As Nawrocki comes forward, slipping it down the left, lovely overlap from Taylor, level of the 6-yard line, crosses in, Kyogo's waiting, and Nightingale's there to hit it behind over this crossbar for a Celtic corner.
What is it they say, Liam?
Don't miss. It will be a corner over on the far side. They did have chances, Simon Murray in particular,
and then
2 really good chances for Murray.
The other one when Murray spins at the near post and it came off of, or he was playing Josh Sims, that was a really good chance as well. So, you know, Packy's spot on that, you know, in that opening spell, good pressure, few opportunities, and as they say, you have a shot at the king, you best not miss.
It's going to be a corner then for O'Reilly to take. Was that how you say it? Is that the official words? Okay, thanks, Mikey. Can always rely on you. Well, outswinging corner from O'Reilly, into the box it comes. Flicked on by Carter Vickers, almost fell for Maida. It's booted away on the 6-yard line by Harman. It's picked up by Ralston, who finds McGregor, who finds Taylor. Midway inside the county half. Out wide left it goes for Leila Bada, who's popped up on the far side. A little turn inside the box there by O'Reilly, but it bobbles away from him. It falls kindly for Nightingale, who plays it off Matt O'Reilly, and out of play over on the far side for a throw into Ross County with about 11 to play until the interval, least of the regulation 45. Celtic with a 2-0 cushion here, and County with a throw in deep inside their own half.
Yeah, I think what I can pick up probably from the Celtic team is slightly different, is that they want to keep the ball a little bit more, especially when they're in a dominant position. It's not going forward every single time to score a goal. Now they're passing it through the midfield, getting it out the sides, back to the goalkeeper, keeping possession a little bit more, frustrating the opposition.
What have you thought of the Celtic intensity, Packy, compared to the last 2 relentless seasons?
Yeah, I think, listen, they don't need to play at that high intensity against this team and their own, probably in Ross County's own half, so it's more about trying to just keep in the ball. But I think the intensity of passing the ball is still there. That's another part of intensity. It's not just about closing down and running after people and trying to win the ball back and so on, but it's about passing the ball with real tempo. And I think that's probably, I did mention the pitch maybe being a little bit sticky. That's caused them a few issues. But in saying that, I think they've passed the ball quite well so far.
I mean, here's the other thing that, you know, obviously a lot is made about...
Oh, sorry, Mikey, they've given it away, County. Now Celtic might be in again. McGregor couldn't quite squeeze it through to Kyogo, and County are able to get it away. Michael?
Just a lot was made about Ange Postecoglou's side and the way that they played and with that intensity. But look, for me, Brendan Rodgers' side were incredibly intense. You think about what they were like when they lost possession. And by the way, there was an example of it just about 5 minutes ago down in front of us here when Anthony Ralston played the ball and it got lost, and then he was in on the top of him. O'Reilly was in, Abada was in, Turnbull was in. That is a hallmark of a Brendan Rodgers side as well. So as much as Ange Postecoglou, it's fresh in the memory, Brendan Rodgers' side do that as well, incredibly well. They
had Forrest and Sinclair on either side, Dembele, Edouard a bit later on, but you're right, absolutely. And Callum McGregor was in his sprightly best. He still is. He's in possession here. Perhaps playing slightly more withdrawn. He did go in behind or beside Scott Brown during Brendan Rodgers' tenure, but Callum McGregor was an attacking threat back in those days as well. As
he was.
Slips it through to Kyogo. Kyogo's managed to get it through for Turnbull. Laidlaw saves. Turnbull in the rebound. Laidlaw saves again and again from O'Reilly. 2 bites at it that Turnbull have. And what a lovely turn and pass from Kyogo. And it almost resulted in Turnbull scoring his second and Celtic's third. It stays at 2-0.
That's the tactic of the Kyogo, going deep, dragging the centre half out of position, creating that space, that hole, and then a midfielder running beyond him. And this time it was Turnbull. It was a good save from the goalkeeper, 1v1 situation, got the block in this time.
Turnbull should have scored. I'm surprised he's not, because he's a great finisher and he'll be kicking himself, be feeling like he should be sitting on a brace, and you know, with a whole half to come, potentially get a hat-trick in opening day. It's a very, very good move there from Celtic. Pace, incisive. It's ominous for Ross County now.
Unless they can find something here from this corner. In it comes, it's flicked across the edge of the box there, the edge of the 6-yard box. It's Jordan White and Jack Baldwin who are both lamenting what might have been an excellent opportunity for County. They can keep the pressure on though on the other side with another corner.
Yeah, it was a good ball in, good pace on the ball. Really difficult to defend any little touch from a striker. It goes in the back of the net.
Jan Danda's going to get his latest corner with 7 minutes of the first half to play. Over on the north stand side, it's taken short to Laturi. Danda gets it into the middle, it's clear by Kyogo. Awkward bouncing ball there for Brown to deal with under pressure from Abada. So it breaks McGregor's way, gets it back to Taylor, who's fouled just as the ball was released, and the yellow card's out for a second time.
Yeah, that's
for Ross County. Nightingale booked this time.
2 centre halves booked, you know, and going back to that chance at Turnbull, Baldwin, he can't go, probably is in his mind now, he can't go the full way and try and stop Kyogo from turning, and that's exactly what happened. He turned and slotted the ball through. So 2 centre halves booked, that's not good for Malky.
It's a sports sign, BBC Radio Scotland, back for the 23-24 season, the first match of the Premiership campaign. Celtic leading Ross County by 2-0 to come at 3. There are 3 Premiership matches taking place. Dundee returning to the top flight, the first time of asking, are at home to Motherwell. Tony Docherty's first league game in charge at Dens Park. It's Livingston, Aberdeen, St Johnstone, Hearts, and then at 5:15 Kilmarnock against Rangers at Rugby Park. It's the later kick-off. Championship, Dunfermline and Airdrieonians, the 2 clubs promoted from League One clash at East End Park. That's one of the highlights of the 4 championship matches taking place. Leagues 1 and 2 underway as well, and full coverage to come later on Sports Sound once we're done here at Celtic Park, where goals from Turnbull and Kyogo have Celtic in a 2-0 lead against Ross County, as Laturi finds White midway inside the Celtic half, looking to switch it out to Dan. That comes off the head of Abada, though breaks McGregor's way. Here's Ralston, short ball back onto his 18-yard line for Carter Vickers, who finds O'Reilly, who finds Nawrocki, and out to the left-hand side Taylor. Low ball up the line for Maida, who was being fouled by Brown. The referee allowing Celtic to play on. They have the possession anyway still, despite the best efforts of James Brown, as Carter Vickers collects and rolls it out to Ralston on this near side. It's the final 5 minutes of the 45 here.
Yeah, it was a good sequence of passes there from Celtic, keeping the ball.
Little chip by Nawrocki out to the left-hand side for Taylor. Goes across the halfway line, driving forward. Short ball to Maida. Rolls it back to Kyogo. Inside of the boot for O'Reilly.
Yeah, sorry, Liam. The thing about keeping the ball too, you've got to have players moving. You've got to have that movement off the ball. Everybody looking for it, and then you can invite the pressure, and you'll get through or around the pressure.
There's Kyogo left-hand side, first-time cross-ins, cleared by Nightingale. He was facing his own goal there. O'Reilly finds Kyogo, back to O'Reilly. Left-hand side of the box, hits the byline. Lovely chip, chance! 3-0! Turnbull! A glorious start to the season for David Turnbull. What a wonderful chip ball from O'Reilly at the back post. Turnbull had the freedom of Glasgow to dump it past Ross Laidlaw despite the goalie's best efforts. And the champions are on easy street on Flag Day. Celtic 3, Ross County 0.
That's great play from Matt O'Reilly in the end. You know, there's a few occasions where Celtic have been quick to pick up the second ball when it's just been on the edge of the box, and it looked like Josh Sims had done enough to be able to block O'Reilly on the byline, but he somehow manages to dig it out, and then Turnbull at the back post with a finish, although they're checking just to see whether O'Reilly's cross was already out.
Yeah, I mean, he's right on the line, isn't he?
If this is a goal, then I'll go back to
the goal stands.
I'll go back to what I was saying before. David Turnbull should have a hat-trick before half-time.
Yeah, he should have, and he was involved in it, and the other goal also. Don't forget that.
How good's David Turnbull going to be feeling right now?
Yeah, brilliant. And I think the way that they're set up in that midfield allows him to play in that almost number 10 position, which really adds to his strength. You know, he doesn't want to be deeper where he has to get on the ball and link the game up. He wants to be good on the end, running beyond Kyogo, getting into good positions. As Michael rightly says, he's a good finisher, and he feels very, very comfortable in that position, and it's showing today, of course.
And now you've got to really worry about Ross County, Michael.
Yeah, well, I mean, I was saying it before, even at 2-0, you can see that Celtic are going to start to dominate the game. That is inevitable, and already 2-0 up when they weren't at their best. It's ominous for Ross County. They don't want to end up on the end of a hiding in the first game of the season, particularly after they've started the game so brightly. But yeah, Celtic they're starting to hit their straps, and they're dangerous. I mean, they're very, very dangerous at the top end of the park. And you know, I was just thinking of that goal there again. It's just quick, incisive attack, and it's very difficult to defend against. Kyogo just with I think it was Kyogo, just played it back into Matt O'Reilly's path. When you play at that pace and you're playing 1-2s, it becomes nigh on impossible to defend against, because players are always going to instinctively look at the ball, and when you have players running off the ball at pace, all they need is that split second to get away, and so it proved there again. So David Turnbull, just touching on that point, it's almost like where Tom Rogic played, except he was on the inside right channel as a almost number 10, and Turnbull's playing on the inside left channel, almost just in a half position. It's not quite as a number 8, he's not quite as a 10, but he's certainly more advanced than Matt O'Reilly is on the other side.
There's another 3 players Brendan Rodgers had when you mentioned Rogic. There's Armstrong. Christie arrived latterly spectacularly in that League Cup semi-final at Murrayfield, as Laidlaw sidesteps away from Kyogo inside his own box and launches it clear with the right foot. But in the final minute of the opening 45, There'll be a little bit added on at the end of the first half.
Yeah.
Clearly.
Brendan Rodgers has spoken himself about he is a developer. He feels like that's his, the best part of his game. And you can't argue with that. I mean, you look at the players that he improved when he was at Celtic last time. It's there, the evidence is there. And for somebody like David Turnbull, who has been given the nod here today, you ask how he must be feeling. He'll be feeling like he's 10 foot tall now.
Yeah,
his body will be flooded with confidence, and he's got a manager who clearly believes in him, and he needs to, he's grabbing this opportunity now, and he needs to keep doing that, but because he has the ability to be a fantastic footballer.
3 minutes added at the end of the first half. We've been told to expect lots more stoppage time at the end of halves of football this season. It goes out of play for a Ross County throw-in. Have they got anything in them to try and alter the scoreline, which reads 3-0 to the champions? And from Baldwin, long throw, Nightingale going for it, Nawrocki heading it away though. Here is Danda, he pokes it out to this near side. It's, flag up on the far side though. It will be a Celtic ball, free kick in first half stoppage time. Matt O'Reilly will leave it for Ralston. Another who'll be trying to impress the new manager with Alistair Johnston out. We know how good Johnston was. Said it last season that Celtic lost Josip Juranovic. They didn't really miss him. That's how good Johnston was.
Just looking at that, obviously the free kick short down in the right back position, and he tried to build the game through Joe Hart. Joe Hart's very much right-footed, and he didn't want to step out onto his left and switch to play. It was almost back to where it came from. So interesting to see how Joe will fit into this whole way of playing under Brendan also. That's going to be critical.
Randall on this near side, beaten to it by Ralston, who wins it back facing his own byline. He turns and clears. Turnbull tries to control, but it breaks to Laturi. I thought that would have gone out. Indeed it has. There'll be a throw into Celtic down on this near side. I mean, the scoreline belies how awkward the opening exchanges of this game were for Celtic, because County came here to play and they played really well in these early exchanges. Simon Murray will be regretting the two opportunities that came and went without him scoring, and he scored 6 times in his 4 League Cup group matches coming into this league season, into this season opener in the Premiership. He couldn't take either that came his way here at Celtic Park, and County have paid a massive price. 3-0 down, and we're in the 3rd minute of the 3. They were added on at the end.
Yeah, Malky's given out. He's going to get booked here.
Well, you can't get booked anymore, so yeah, you can. Yeah, yellow. It is a yellow for Malky Mackay. So
you obviously weren't listening at the meeting about VAR there, Liam, were you?
Pardon?
Can't get booked.
I thought it was straight to the stand now.
It could be straight to the stand, depending on the what the referee interprets.
Depends what he said, clearly.
Yeah.
There will be a...
So you can get booked?
Well, we clearly, because we've just seen it. Did you see it? You see the yellow card come out there, Mikey? That's what that was. It's County in possession here with Randall. Just outside the centre circle. He plays it short to his left for Harmon. I make that time up as far as the stoppages are concerned. And Mick Walsh blows for an offside. And the flag up again over there on the north stand side. And there is the half-time whistle. A very satisfactory return to Scottish football for Brendan Rodgers as he makes his way up the tunnel at the interval here. Celtic 3-0 up and cruising, but County came here and played really well in those early exchanges. Simon Murray felt he should have had a penalty on 13 minutes when he went round Joe Hart, who misjudged a back pass. At least he wasn't sure whether to pick it up or not, and Murray almost got round him to score into an open goal. After the VAR check, no penalty, and then within a couple of minutes Celtic had a penalty of their own. Sims bringing down Taylor before Turnbull converted. Then on 26 minutes, Kyogo, after good build-up play, Turnbull flicking on for Abada, across the face it went, and Kyogo was there to knock it home as he got his scoring exploits off and running for the new campaign. And then number 3 from David Turnbull, after a lovely chip back there by Matt O'Reilly at the byline, found Turnbull at the back post as he knocked it home into the ground first time past Laidlaw to make it 3. Probably should have scored another one 5 minutes before that. But Celtic and their supporters will be very happy, because given the awkward start, they will be elated that the half-time scoreline is Celtic 3, Ross County 0.
On digital radio,
online at BBC Sport Scotland,
or play BBC Radio Scotland Extra on your smart speaker or BBC Sounds.
this is Sport Sound.
Scottish football lives here.
What a goal!
It's your ticket to the Edinburgh Festivals, and you're welcome in wherever you're listening in the country.
Do you want to tell them how?
Catch programmes across August.
We're joined by some of the best performers currently gracing the capital.
The best entertainment, comedy and live music, straight from the heart of the world's biggest celebration of arts and culture.
We have a multitude of marvellous musicians just champing at the bit to perform for you.
That is, of course, if you're up for it.
Join us at the Edinburgh Festivals.
The answer is 4 weeks in Edinburgh. How long does it take pandas to become 100% celibate?
Listen from Monday, beginning with the afternoon show on BBC Radio Scotland and Sounds.
So we are bringing you the first commentary of the Premiership season right here on Sport Sound on BBC Radio Scotland. The champion Celtic cruising now against Ross County. They lead at half-time by 3-0. Turnbull with a penalty on 17. Kyogo with a second goal on 26. And Turnbull again on 42 minutes, Leanne Crichton. Yet it was a very positive start for Ross County, but Celtic's class shining through.
Yeah, it was not a really positive start from Ross County. They looked organised, they looked at it, they looked aggressive on the front foot, put Celtic under pressure immediately and almost won a corner straight off the back of kick-off. And you kind of felt then that there was a different look about the Ross County side. It's always that commentator's curse, because I knew at the point, I think Michael spoke about how well County were doing. You look at the clock, I think we were 11 minutes into the game, and you're thinking, how many times last season did we watch Celtic within that 20-minute mark go ahead, and then before you know it, they add and they add and they add, and it's exactly what they've managed to do. It's just that the quality in the central areas is frightening at times. The movement of Kyogo, again, an absolute nuisance to defences. The way that he drags players out of areas, he vacates that position and allows other players to get beyond. The wide players in Maeda and Abada stretching the game at times really well. Then they come in the pitch, they allow those overlaps for the full-backs. They just create a numerical advantage everywhere across the pitch, and it's so difficult to play against. And then the quality in front of goal, because take nothing away from the finishes. The third one as well from David Turnbull, the dink to the back post from Matt O'Reilly. It's not an easy finish, but David Turnbull does really well to keep it down, keep it on target and into the back of the net. And Ross County will probably go in and be scratching their head and thinking, for the amount of work that they've put into that opening half, how well and how bright that opening probably 15-minute period was. The penalty, was it not?
Well, let's talk about
Simon Murray one.
Yeah, so because Turnbull, when he scored from the spot in 17 minutes, just 2 minutes prior to that, there was a penalty shout for Ross County. You've had a couple of looks now, but as have I find it quite hard to make a definitive decision on it.
No, the angle that we've got is probably not completely clear. It's a mix-up defensively. Joe Hart takes the touch with his chest. Simon Murray nips in. He gets the touch beyond Joe Hart, and it's at that point as Joe Hart looks to try and recover, is there contact with Simon Murray? Now, during the commentary, I looked at it on the screen. I didn't think there was contact. I'm still not sure there was contact. I think Simon Murray was anticipating that the contact would come. It's probably why he takes his eye off the ball, and the touch in the end is really poor, because he's got an empty net to go knock the ball into if he gets beyond Joe Hart. But again, looking at it repeatedly and repeatedly and repeatedly, I still don't see contact. But at the same time, without the other angle from probably behind the goal would give you a clearer image. Had Nick Walsh given the penalty, again, the VAR team would have looked at it and would have found reasons to support Nick Walsh. Ultimately, the referee's made the call and he's seen it as no penalty.
Pat, we'll talk about the positives for Celtic and, of course, David Turnbull. But in terms of Joe Hart's part in that Ross County penalty claim, what did you make of that?
Yeah, listen, it was a difficult one for him, because when I watched it, as soon as that ball was played over the top, you have to interpret it. Is it a pass back or can you pick it up? He obviously thought it was a pass back, so it's bounced high up onto his chest and he had to do something. Could he have knocked it away first time? I don't know, because it was probably too low to head. too high to actually get your foot on it, so he had to take a control, and he was put under pressure. That was the problem with it. You know, he could have given away the penalty. If he gave away the penalty, could he have been sent off? That was the other issue for him. So probably Nick Walsh has done him a favour not giving the penalty.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Michael, isn't it? Because you were saying just how well County started that game, but I guess for players who are sometimes left out in the cold, it's when you get that opportunity, it's about taking it. And David Turnbull has absolutely done that.
Oh, unquestionably. I mean, he's been standout in the first half there. I mean, look, it's not just a case of taking the opportunity when it comes along. It's not as simple as that. There's so much that goes into it psychologically, and you can tell right here that Brendan Rodgers clearly likes David Turnbull. It's simple, because Rio Tatis are fantastic players. There's a lot of competition for places in there for Celtic, and it was tough for David Turnbull because he's sitting on and watching the midfield doing very, very well under Ange Postecoglou, and he probably just didn't have the same intensity that Postecoglou was looking for in the middle of the park. Brendan Rodgers comes in, he wants to develop the guy, he wants to push him on, and he's got the opportunity here. And when I'm saying it's not just as simple as grabbing that chance, you've got to have the confidence and belief and feel that your manager's got your back, and he maybe didn't feel that Ange had his back, whereas you can see here, penalty, the fact that he's taking the penalty kick, that says a lot. It says a lot, and he's grown as the half has worn on. And he's making it very difficult for Brendan Rodgers to look anywhere else when he's looking at picking his next team.
As for County, Michael, I'm minded back to the opening day of last season. It was Alan Preston was covering their game through at Tynecastle. They made a great start to that game, really knocking the ball about, creating chances, yet they didn't get anything from that game. And as Leanne said there, perhaps it's a very tough one for these County players to go in at half-time 3-0 down. They'll feel that the performance deserved more than that.
Yes, but that's the ruthlessness of the opposition that they're up against. As good as they've performed, they're 3-0 down, and they need to just put that out of their mind. They need to make sure they can try to perform to the same levels, but if a chance presents itself, they've got to make sure they can get themselves on the score sheet. If they can't, the one thing they have to avoid is getting on the end of a drubbing. I think back to just before the split, I'm pretty sure that Ross County were obviously, they got a hammering off of Hearts at Tynecastle. I think it ended up, was it 5 at some point? And also they got on the wrong end of a doing at Celtic Park latterly in the season as well. So it's a difficult one for Malky and for Ross County because they have performed well. Yes, I feel that you've got to go and engage Celtic higher up the park, but they're now 3-0 down. First game of the season, it sounds a bit ridiculous, but there is an element of damage limitation because you don't want this to have a lingering effect, because I do feel that Ross County, the business that they've done in the squad that they have, they're not bad, but they've come up against a side who weren't particularly great in the first 15-20 minutes, but they're now 3-0 up at half-time, and you do feel that there's more goals there for Ross County, for Celtic to go and get in the second half.
What are you guys seeing that's different from this Celtic team under Brendan Rodgers compared to what we saw under Ange Postecoglou?
Yeah, well, what hasn't changed, he's still playing with two wingers, two out-and-out wingers with Maeda on one side and Abada. He's still playing with the lone striker who, as Kyogo, we've seen that he doesn't play always up there. He dropped back into midfield. The big change for me is in the middle of the pitch, where he's almost going with a rotation, where you have Matt O'Reilly dropping back in a little bit more alongside McGregor, but he will get forward at times and then they will rotate around. Turnbull is the one that's staying a little bit higher up the pitch, and he'll go from that inside left, almost he make runs across in front of the striker to become almost a number 10, and you've seen where his goals was when Kyogo pulled the centre half out of possession. He was the one that was running forward. I think Greg Taylor has come in at times in the middle of the pitch because I think he's used to doing that and he's quite comfortable doing it and he wants to do it, but not as much as we've seen under Ange Postecoglou for sure. And then Turnbull hasn't got into that position because we've seen him also picking up the position under Ange, but he's almost played as a conventional, traditional type of right back in that position. So that's the change that I see. The centre halves will drive into midfield when the space are there, when they have the ball, but invariably that's the biggest change. They will settle a little bit more on the ball, they'll pass it around a little bit more, they will ask the goalkeeper to be involved in building from the back a little bit more deeper. Even when the press comes on, he will be asked to do it. Will he be able to do it as well as Brendan wants to do? That'll be the big question on Joe Hart. You did ask me about his instance with the ball that was played back, that he nearly gave away the penalty, but I think there was also instances where maybe the ball was played back to him and he doesn't like going onto his left foot. We always know that from Joe. He's more right-footed. So will Brendan be happy with that? Will he want him to go onto his left foot, take a little bit more risk? I think those are the little questions that will be answered over the weeks, but the big change for me today is the middle of the pitch.
Pat, Michael, I'm interested to know, it's difficult at times when you're watching the game on the screen in the studio. Does it look as if Celtic have got the same energy in the middle of the pitch when you take out the likes of Hatate and replace with the likes of Turnbull? Because the one thing that I'm looking at, Ross County have had 7 corners in the first half, which I think is quite significant, especially at Celtic Park. And I'm wondering, is that down to Celtic's lack of regaining the ball higher up the pitch? Because I think last season I looked at Celtic, more often than not, I don't think teams really get anywhere near Celtic's penalty area in games like this where they dominate possession as much, but 7 corners is quite significant.
Yeah, well, they started the game very well, Ross County. They got like 5 corners inside the first 15 minutes or so. Look, I think, and Kenny's asking the question as well, what's changed, what's different? You're talking about marginal differences. I think, in the grand scheme of things, Ange Postecoglou's Celtic side, aggressive, front foot football, attacking style. Brendan Rodgers is similar. Of course, there's going to be nuances and slight differences here and there. I think we can overplay some of the differences as well. Ross County have had 7 corners here. I think in large part it's just down to the fact that the way that they've played. They played well inside that opening 15 minutes or so. They played direct and got it up into the final third quickly, as you would expect when you've got somebody like Jordan White that's playing up there. So I think on this occasion, on that stat, to me it's more to do with how Ross County played and how they started, rather than looking at what were Celtic not doing. Yeah, and I think, Michael, they exploited down the left-hand side, their left-hand side into the right-back position. And that's the question then in relation to teams that Celtic will come up against this year. Not so much probably in this league, but certainly in Europe, where if you go and play with 2 out-and-out wingers, will they do that job defensively, especially Abada on this side? Will he get back and help Turnbull, or will Turnbull have to deal with almost a 2v1? Because their fullbacks was going today, especially both of them actually at times were high up the pitch, and that created that sort of overload in those wide areas, and they were very good in that first 15 minutes, but at the end of the day they were then exploited themselves by Celtic, and that's the risk that you take, and if it works for you, brilliant. If it goes against you, and it has gone against Ross County, and it's the fact that they're 3-0 down at this point in time.
Michael, we had a brief chat before the game. Leanne and Pat were talking about the comments from Brendan Rodgers suggesting that Carl Starfelt was likely to be in his way from the club. Leanne saying she doesn't see an awful lot of options, an awful lot of cover in that central defensive area for Celtic. Would you share these concerns?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree. I think that they are a little bit light. It was a very, very fair comment from Leanne. Looking at, just specifically looking at Narovski, you expect Celtic at home, they're going to dominate a lot of the ball. He's clearly more comfortable in possession than Carl Starfelt. Whether he's going to be defensively as strong as Carl Starfelt, time will tell. But would you be looking to try to... I personally would probably be looking to try to keep Starfelt as well. But if you're going to be getting good money for him, and you might perhaps have your eye on somebody else to come in, it's just the evolution of the team. Narovski, for me, looks like he could be a good player. I don't know, I've not seen enough to know
He reminds me, Michael, of Simunovic. Remember Simunovic, a Serbian?
Yep.
Tall enough, good enough on the ball.
Simunovic always felt to me like he had a mistake in him. I've not seen enough of Narovski yet to say, whether he's going to be a rock-solid defender like Cameron Carter-Vickers has been for Celtic. But in regards to their squad and their depth at centre-half, yes, I think that is a question mark. They don't have a great deal of depth there. And if Carl Stauffer is to go, my gut would be that they'd be looking for something else, because Kobayashi's not hit the ground running. He's looked quite laborious at times at left-sided centre-half, especially the game at Tynecastle, where the Scottish game is cut and thrust. It's really sort of up and at them. He's particularly away from home, and he looked a little bit like he was uncomfortable with that style. So I would suspect if Carl Stauffer is to leave, that I think Celtic would be looking to bring someone else in.
Well, we'll find that out in due course. Let's get back to Celtic Park. The champions are cruising against Ross County. Our commentary team there: Pat Bonner, Michael Stewart and Liam McLeod.
The 17th league meeting between them here at Celtic Park. Celtic have won 13, the other 3 have been drawn. They met 4 times last season, 3 in the league, once in the League Cup. Celtic won all 4 of them. And Celtic have won the last 9 league meetings between them at Celtic Park on the bounce since County managed a 1-1 draw in April 16. And it's the champions who kick off the second half in the green and white hoop shirts, white shorts, white socks. County in the navy blue. Celtic shooting towards the Jock Stein stand, right to left, as O'Reilly hits a speculative effort from 25 plus yards, and it trundles wide of the right hand post. No changes for either team by the look of it. So Hart in goal for Celtic. It's Ralston, Carter-Vickers, Nawrocki and Taylor, O'Reilly, McGregor and Turnbull, Abada, Maida and Kyogo. And for County, it's Laidlaw in goal. It's Brown, Baldwin, Nightingale, Harman, Randall, Laturi, Sims, Danda, White and Murray. Simon Murray perhaps more annoyed than others as it goes to McGregor and back to Nawrocki. And the square ball to Carter-Vickers, who then slides it out to the right hand side for Ralston. Ralston on the turn, just moving it infield to O'Reilly, and back the way it goes to Carter-Vickers, who of course missed the last 6 weeks of last season. Cost them most notably a place in the Scottish Cup final, winning side.
Got breaking news, Liam. Apparently the 4th official, Colin Stephen, is getting some treatment at the half-time for being stung by a wasp. He's holding his elbow. To
be fair, that's not a pleasant experience. But he's come back out for the second half. What a trooper.
Was it his flag hand or arm?
It's Nawrocki for Maida. I see the Wasps start getting annoyed at this time of year. August, September time. Stay away from them if you can. It's Nawrocki forward to Turnbull, who goes down, fouled by Nightingale, says Nick Walsh.
Got to be careful, Nightingale. He's gone through the back of Turnbull there again. He has been booked. Just got to be careful and how he goes about his business.
No European appointment for Nick Walsh this upcoming week on Thursday. Europa League third qualifying round, first leg in Bosnia between Zrinjski and Breiðablik of Iceland. Former foes of Motherwell. Going back a while now. As Kyogo finds Ralston in the centre circle to Nawrocki to the left, and into the County half for Maida. Challenge from Brown, who claims he won the ball, but the referee didn't like it.
I think it was a free
kick to Celtic.
I think it was a foul, but he did read what Maeda was going to do, and there was a chance there for him to win the ball. But I think in the end, Maeda just managed to get his body in the way and make sure that Brown committed the foul.
It's interesting, the movement of Maeda there, actually coming into the pocket, driving in to get on the ball. We haven't seen that, I think, under Ange, where the wingers always stayed wide and get the ball and then drive on the inside, but this time is without the ball. So that might be something that's been asked of the wide guys under Brendan Rodgers. It might be slightly different and they'll have to adapt.
We're just over 5 minutes away from some of the team news arriving for the 3 o'clock kickoffs. The live text at bbc.co.uk/sportscotland if you want the news of what new signings will be in the starting lineups for some of the clubs across the 3 o'clock kickoffs. All Mikes will take you through those games across the country, across the divisions. as Taylor goes back to Nawrocki, who finds Joe Hart. Murray chasing him down. Hart plays it short to his right for Carter Vickers, who dinks it to Ralston on that right hand side, closed down by Danda, but Ralston finds Kyogo, runs into trouble in the shape of Jordan White as it breaks Laturi's way for County. The Staggies in the all navy blue going left to right, tagging the Lisbon line, stand end of Celtic Park, as Randall collects and he prods it back to his captain Baldwin, who survived a possible red card from a VAR check in the first half. It's going to be a throw into County. We're up the pitch here, although a little bit too high up the pitch, says Nick Walsh, who tells James Brown to shift back a few yards. He bowls it back to Nightingale, who finds Baldwin, who clears it first time with the right foot. Underneath it is Nawrocki. His header comes off the undersole of Baldwin and it breaks Carter Vickers' way. He finds Ralston to O'Reilly, and then Carter Vickers to Nawrocki. Forward towards Turnbull. He's managed a hat-trick before in his Celtic career. He'll be eyeing one up in the second half if an opportunity arises. As O'Reilly goes back to Joe Hart. I was talking to Pat Nevin at half-time there. He's working with 5 Live just up the road from us here, Mikey, and he's pointing out it's great for Turnbull, it's great for Scotland as well. And you mentioned it in the first half because get an injury to the likes of John McGinn, he's the ideal candidate potentially to come in.
Yeah, I said that, you know, from a selfish Scottish fan's perspective.
Ralston pulls it back. O'Reilly just couldn't get it dug from under his feet, and Baldwin does enough, and County able to get it away.
You know, Celtic midfield, there's a lot of competition for places, and it's the same with the national side. But you know, I'm pretty positive that Steve Clarke would be delighted to see another young Scottish talent performing at the highest level and staking a claim.
There's Maida, back to McGregor. And he slips it into the centre circle for Cameron Carter Vickers, who controls it and looks up at the pitch ahead of him. There's been a lot more control about the start of this performance, at the start of the half for Celtic. Here's O'Reilly who shoots, Laidlaw makes the save, Maida on the follow-up, and it's blocked by the keeper again and behind for the Celtic corner. Looked all the way 4-0, it stays at 3.
I was shocked there. I thought the goalkeeper must have been on the move when the ball was struck by O'Reilly, because it was a low one, but there was no real pace in it. But he nearly got caught out down to his right-hand side, and he just managed to knock it away to safety. And Maeda following up, he got a good, decent get up early and got a decent block on it. But I thought he got caught on the move just as that ball was struck.
Outswinging corner from O'Reilly, cleared by combination of Murray and Randall, and behind it goes for another Celtic corner. 51.5 on the clock, and O'Reilly has a second chance at this outswinger, this main stand side. In the corner here, Matt O'Reilly, movement in the box. O'Reilly takes, flicked away by White on the 6-yard line. Now it's with McGregor to Turnbull, and then to Callum McGregor. He sweeps it to Abada out to this left-hand side. It comes for O'Reilly, level with the 18. His chip ball goes wrong though, and it was behind for the goal kick to County. You would expect Celtic to have more control in the game, given they are 3-0 up.
Yeah, and you know, again, they're taking you know, probably 2 or 3 more passes than usual when, you know, compared to last year. We're just controlling the game, making the opposition work. As long as everybody's looking for it, passing around, and then they're progressing slowly up the pitch and getting into good positions.
There's Carter Vickers holding off Murray and slipping it to his left for Taylor. The line for Maida. Is it pinched off by Brown? It's a little bit off it, dies in Maida.
Yeah, well, his game is about getting the ball, opening up, knocking it past people and running. You know, and that's the difference again from him. He's got to be able to adapt probably his game a little bit so that he gets the ball, links up with other players.
There's Callum McGregor for Celtic, out to the right-hand side for Abada. That's help from Ralston, elects to go back the way to O'Reilly though. He slips into the right of the centre circle for McGregor, looking to knock it through to Kyogo. Well blocked by Nightingale, had to get there with Kyogo in behind him. Celtic win it back in double quick time, but it's given away by Abada straight to Nightingale.
Yeah, but that's what Maeda brings to the team also, that closing down. You know, when he sees that the opposition or one of his teammates has lost the ball, he's on the front foot. Same with Kyogo, and that they don't lose. That's in their DNA.
Greg Taylor in the centre circle, rolls it low along the grass to Ralston, and now it's O'Reilly in the county half. To Ralston, Abada looking to get it back to O'Reilly, does well, strong against Randall, pulls it back, Kyogo on the right foot, it's wide, deflected. And I think there might be a head knock here as well, because that was hit full force by Kyogo. Celtic corner.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, is it Nightingale this down? I'm not too sure. Find out in a second.
It's Baldwin, is it? Is it Baldwin?
Oh, is it Baldwin this down? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, he gets absolutely clattered here because Kyogo whips it with a real pace. And he's probably only 5 yards away. He's up, thankfully, but more importantly, you just want to make sure that he is totally fine, because he got hit with some force there from Kyogo's strike.
He's okay to continue. Celtic take the corner through Turnbull. The goalkeeper comes, gets a little bit on it. Is it enough? Just about. County scramble it clear. Abada picks it up on this near side though, and it's forced into the middle for O'Reilly, and now Ralston in the centre circle. Ralston and Carter Vickers exchange passes. Of course, it was Mikael Lustig who was the first choice right back during Brendan Rodgers' first spell in charge here. O'Reilly plays it short to Ralston again, and now Carter Vickers, side football forward to Turnbull. First time back to O'Reilly, and then out to this near side for Abada. Knocks it through for Taylor. Left hand side up against Sims. Taylor slips, but he's back in his feet now. Disguised ball for Turnbull. Back to Taylor, to the left angle of the box. It's Abada. His pass forward is cut out by Randall, and then Laturi picks it up and drives away from his box and chips it forward, but only to give it straight back to Anthony Ralston. 55.5 on the clock, with Celtic leading by 3-0. And that's been a comfortable afternoon so far, save for those opening 10 or 11 minutes. It's a long ball from Taylor, which goes straight into touch for a county throw-in. It looks as though Malky Mackay is going to turn to his bench. That is Kyle Turner and Scott Allardyce, who are waiting to come on. Turner, who arrived from Partick Thistle, they're a very good season with them, and they'd a very good match or two in the playoff final as well against Ross County. And they're also going to bring on Alex Samuel, who played a big part in County's comeback in that playoff final. And Scott Allardyce, he was excellent for Cally Thistle last season, will make his way onto the pitch as well. Murray is coming off, Laturi is coming off as well, and the other change is Sims. So triple change for Ross County as we tick towards 57 minutes. It's freshening it up. It's been pretty easy for Celtic since the interval, you would have to say. They are so often, you see here in particular in the home games, that when they do get control and they do get well in front, it's almost a glorified training match. Malky Mackay will hope that those changes will inject some kind of life into his side. The Celtic bench today, Scott Bain is the sub-goalie. I did see Benjamin Siegrist doing a warm-up today, but it is Bain who is listed on the bench, and then Starfelt there too, Hatate, Forrest, Iwata, and then a few of the new boys there, Hyunjun Yang, Kyu Kwon, the two South Koreans, and Odin Thiago Holm, the Norwegian, as Nawrocki, one of the new signings who did start, picks it up, finds Taylor, back to the pole, who switches it to Carter Vickers on the right-hand side of his own box. Forward to Kyogo. First time out to Maeda. He and Abada have switched sides, and it's got back into the path of Maeda down that right-hand side. It's an early volley, two waiting. It's the sliding block there by Nightingale, and Laidlaw comes out and flops down onto it, and it will stay on 58 minutes. Celtic 3, Ross County 0.
Just a wonderful quick attack there from Celtic, and it all really stems from Kyogo's ball round the corner into his countryman Maeda, and then he's on his bike, and then likewise he lays it back into Kyogo, and Maeda's bursting forward. You know, that pace I said it earlier on, there was a few occasions where Celtic picking up loose balls on the second ball on the edge of the box, and when you spring forward and you're playing 1-2s at pace, it's nigh on impossible to defend against, especially when you've got the pace of some of these Celtic players.
And I will add, Michael, that it sort of kind of starts with Joe Hart at the back to work the ball, they suck the opposition in a little bit to create the space, then for the link-up play higher up the pitch, and it worked really, really well.
2 from Turnbull, 1 from Kyogo. In the middle of all that, Celtic in cruise control. And here comes Turner for County, rolling it out wide right. Here for Brown, back in field for Danda. He's got a bit of space here at the edge of the box, but his pass-through's cut out by O'Reilly. Allardyce finds Brown, out to Turner on this near side, the right angle of the box. Back the way it comes, the first time ball in by Brown. Across the 6-yard box it comes, still a chance here for County. The ball across is cut out, and behind it goes for their first corner of the second half.
Yeah, but
the
hesitation,
approach the hour mark.
Yeah, but a hesitation at the back post between Carter Vickers and Turnbull. They kind of almost let the ball drop, and they didn't go and attack it, and they nearly get done at the back post. But the corner for Ross County.
Danda will take in swinger from that northeast corner over on the far side. Bends it in on top of the goalkeeper, comes off the header. White! Oh, it's gone in! County have won back! Looping header from Jordan White from the corner from the other side. He found himself in space at the back post and loops the header into the top reverse left-hand corner of the goal, and it's Celtic 3, Ross County 1 on the hour mark.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were saying earlier on that Ross County hadn't been able to get on the end of any corners, and it would have been disappointing for Malky Mackay. They do it here, and Jordan White does it unbelievably well because he's stretching, he's going backwards, and he somehow manages to get the trajectory on it to loop over the defence into the far corner. And huge goal for Ross County, because okay, it might not lead to them getting points, but what it does do is it gives them a belief that they're not going to end up getting 4, 5, 6 against them. It's a big goal. I mean, the thing is, it was a very, very good cross initially from James Brown, but Packy's right, defensively they just looked a little bit slow to react to the initial cross.
That's where it came from, Michael.
Absolutely.
And then the corner, they crowded that 6-yard box. Of course, that's what you want to do, get as many people in around Joe Hart as possible. He struggled to shake anybody off and create space for himself to come and deal with the cross, and the ball travels all the way to the back post, and they weren't able to deal with it.
Well, they came from 3-0 down in aggregate against Partick Thistle with 20 minutes to play of that playoff final. Very different challenge, this one, against the champions in Glasgow. And Allardyce hasn't helped things because he's given it away, and here's Abada in an attacking position. Back to McGregor at the edge of the box. Little ball by Nawrocki, Abada on the turn, and Laidlaw holds on. And it stays Celtic 3, Ross County 1 on 61.5.
What you don't do is put the ball at risk in against a team like Celtic, almost about 25-30 yards out in front of your own goal. When you have players in the form that Celtic have shown, you just don't put the ball in there. Play it up to your strikers.
Scott Allardyce it was, started the Scottish Cup final defeat to Celtic whilst in Cali Thistle colours. Joe Hart dinks it out to Ralston on the right hand side. First time ball forward, now it's with O'Reilly for Turnbull. Challenge from Allardyce. Comes out for the Celtic throw in over on the far side. I think Brendan Rodgers is going to look to his subs here, 62 minutes into the match. It's normally sort of 65-minute mark. Postecoglou would make his raft of changes. Wonder how many Rodgers will make here.
And we talk about that tempo. That tempo's gone out of the game a little bit from Celtic. Yes, they're passing the ball, they're trying to control the game, but the tempo of doing that, plus a bit of more tempo higher up the pitch, and they're taking a little bit more risk at the back now, passing it around, inviting Ross County onto them a little bit, and it only takes one mistake, another mistake, and they're in great position to exploit it.
Nightingale blocking the ball forward by Taylor, who takes a quick throw in to Nawrocki. Into Taylor. Nawrocki picking it up, 22 years of age, Polish under-21 international he was. He's actually born in Germany. Started his career at Werder Bremen, at the loan at Legia Warsaw, and it was there he impressed the Celtic scouts. And he's in the green and white hoops for the first time competitively today. 3-1 to Celtic. Greg Taylor with a throw-in on this near side. The team news will be filtering through from the 3 o'clock kickoffs. bbc.co.uk/sportscotland. You'll get the news of the starting 11s across the Premiership. And indeed, if you go into your teams section on the website, you'll see the lineups dropping through for the matches across the country. Championship, of course, began last night. Dundee United rampantly winning at Gayfield against Arbroath. 4 championship games taking place today, including the one at East End Park between the two sides promoted from League One. Dunfermline take on Airdrieonians. It's Turnbull for Celtic. It's now with McGregor into the centre circle for Ralston, who knocks it back out wide left for Taylor. Starfelt and Hatate are waiting to come on for Celtic.
I think Allardyce has just come on for Ross County. It looks like he might have to go off. He's taking a knock to his knee.
Down. Here comes Celtic. They're playing on. Abada, Kyogo back to Abada. Kyogo trying to get back onto it again. Brought down by Randall. Celtic have it. Ralston across the face of the goal. It's blocked by Nightingale, whose clearance takes it out to the far side. It's going to kept in play by County. Baldwin, but it's only to Celtic's benefit. Here's O'Reilly for Kyogo. And now Turnbull at the right angle of the box. Allardyce still down. Celtic play on. Here's Taylor for Maida. Nawrocki for Taylor. Now O'Reilly. Celtic looking for a fourth. O'Reilly's pass is blocked and he has to go back the way to Carter Vickers. Allardyce has got back to his feet, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to continue. Here is Turnbull rolling it out the side foot into the feet of Taylor wide on this left-hand side. Taylor loses it though. There's O'Reilly. He's gone down now, and it's going to be a free kick to Celtic as Brown batters the ball off the advertising in front of the Celtic fans in the main stand. He gets a yellow card, and Celtic have got a free kick in an attacking position. And as Brendan Rodgers make the changes now, he's got an arm round Rio Hatate. Indeed, is making the changes. So Mike Nawrocki's debut is over. He'll be replaced by Starfelt, who might not be here for much longer, going by what the Celtic manager was saying to us in his pre-match interview. And Hatate will replace Turnbull. So perhaps when the Celtic fans arrived here today, they might have thought Starfelt and Hatate would be in the team. It's the two who came in for them. Those who felt those two would start, who will come off. And firstly, Packy, a word on David Turnbull. 2 goals today, and he had a hand in the other one.
Yeah, he's played exceptionally well. Loved the occasion. You can see he's got off, shake the manager's hand, and a happy young man. Obviously, getting his goals fills you with confidence, but it's the way he played also. Excellent performance. Hatate coming into it. It'll be interesting to see how he reacts, not starting the first game of the season. Will he come in now and put on a bit of a show also? Starfelt coming in. Obviously, Nawrocki is taking a breather. He looks the part. Carl Starfelt getting a little chance maybe to say cheerio to the fans also if he's on his way. Obviously, Brendan confirmed that in his pre-match interview with Martin, and
yeah, well, anyway, Scott Allardyce has come off as Michael predicted, and he's been replaced by another who played against Celtic in that Scottish Cup final, and Jay Henderson, who arrived from St Mirren but was on loan in Inverness last season. Celtic free kick to be taken by O'Reilly. 23 to play. In from O'Reilly, left-footed free kick, bends it towards the back end of the box, but it evades everyone. It goes out on the reverse side for a throw-in to Ross County. Celtic 3, Ross County 1. Jordan White with the counter for the visitors. They'll feel that's the least they deserve after a really good opening to the game. They were the better side before Celtic took the lead through Turnbull's penalty. Simon Murray had 2 really good opportunities to give County the lead, and they paid the price. And that Turnbull double, the other from Kyogo. Still have Celtic in a pretty comfortable position, 2-goal cushion. And since the White salvo for County, they haven't really been up the pitch. There's Hatate, first real touch out to Ralston, who goes down, but the Celtic fullback bounces straight back up. as Carter Vickers leaves the ball for him. It'll be a free kick which he takes quickly.
Yeah, Liam, I think the strength of any team also is competition. You know, competition for places. We know that Celtic got a big squad and that's been built up over the last number of years. A big change of players. Not many left since Neil Lennon's time, that's for sure. And there's more coming this year. So that competition is a vital part, I think, of success.
It's up into the air, comes off the head of McGregor. He's inside his own half. Taylor can't keep it in play. County have a throw-in about level with the edge of the D of the Celtic box over on this main stand side. James Brown is going to leave it for Jack Baldwin, who possesses that long throw which can be such a weapon. 21 to play. 3-1 to Celtic.
It is a weapon, and Celtic have got to now defend it. They don't want to lose anything going into the last period of this game and put themselves under pressure.
Baldwin then bowls it into the Celtic box. Carter Vickers nods it clear, then Taylor dumps it away on the left foot out to this near side, and Baldwin will let it go out for another County throw, but this time it's inside their own half. As he quickly takes it down the line, it goes. Starfelt coming across. White wins the... That's come off. White lasting out for that Celtic throw-in. Just like to welcome listeners who've been tuned to Off the Ball and BBC Radio Scotland FM and on Sounds to the action here at Celtic Park. Celtic leading by 3-1 here on Sports Sound. A double in the first half from David Turnbull, the other from Kyogo. Jordan White pulling one back for County around about the hour mark, but in the 10 minutes that have come and gone since then, it's been fairly quiet. Both teams have made changes in that time. Celtic bringing Starfelt and Hatate on for Nawrocki, the debutant, and Turnbull, the 2-goal hero in the first half, as Carter Vickers picks up wide on that right-hand side. Infield for Hatate, under pressure from Samuel, and then Ralston back to Carter Vickers, to Starfelt at walking pace. Uses O'Reilly in the centre circle, back to Carl Starfelt on this near side. He finds Taylor. Square ball for O'Reilly, less than an hour away from open all mics in the 3 o'clock kickoffs. In the Premiership, it includes Dundee against Motherwell, St Johnstone against Hearts, Livingston against Aberdeen. Later it's Kilmarnock Rangers. That's a 5:15 kickoff, and we'll keep across the action in the Championship in Leagues 1 and 2. Tomorrow it's Hibernian and St Mirren at Easter Road, 3 o'clock kickoff, live on Sunday Sports Sound. Sportsing on both evenings, of course. On Wednesday, Champions League third qualifying round first leg, Rangers Servette, live on BBC Radio Scotland here with Sports Sound. It's also live on television as well. And then Europa Conference League qualifiers on Thursday, Rosenborg Hearts, 6 o'clock kickoff, Hibs Luzern, 7:30 kickoff at Easter Road. Busy week, busy spell, as Celtic pick up a throw-in over on that right-hand side. Bold in field, but it's cut out by the first man, Danda. They're deep inside their own half here, County. They've dug it out though, up towards Alex Samuel, who nods it back the way, and then I think White felt he'd been fouled on the far side. Nick Walsh, the referee, disagrees, and it's won back there by Kyle Turner to the edge of his box for Randall, flicked on by Danda, and out it goes for a throw into Celtic on the far side. It's a tough old start to the season for County. They've got Celtic and Rangers in 2 of their first 3. They do face St Johnstone next weekend, which they will view as a much more winnable game than this one.
They've Rangers up at home, haven't they?
It's in Dingwall, yeah.
Which is always gives them a little
3
chance.
weeks' time.
Yeah.
Because it was County who inflicted serious damage on Neil Lennon. And O'Reilly gets it from Kyogo, right-hand side of the box. He shoots and scores! A fabulous goal from Matt O'Reilly, who extends the Celtic lead back to 3. Kyogo with the assist, and O'Reilly with a wonderful finish, took it into his stride, right angle of the 6-yard area, and he smashes it past Laidlaw. The champions will begin with victory. It is Celtic 4, Ross County 1.
It's another wonderful bit of play from Kyogo. Lovely ball round the corner. He just steps off the defenders. O'Reilly makes the run in behind. and you could tell he was waiting desperately for it to just sit. He's obviously going to swing it with his weaker right foot, and he was waiting and waiting, and he just waited perfectly. And then when he needed to, makes perfect contact, smashes into the back of the net. Ross Laidlaw has no chance. Really, really good goal from Celtic, a wonderful finish from Matt O'Reilly, but it's Kyogo again for me.
Brilliant, and he's asked questions of the centre half. Do you come out with me when I drop in there, or do you stay in your position? He didn't know what to do. He didn't either, actually. He didn't come out and stop him from playing that ball, and he didn't track the runner and O'Reilly. Midfielder could help him, of course, if he goes with the runner and he comes to with Kyogo.
Yeah.
But it didn't happen defensively, and they exploited it so well. Great finish.
I mean, Liam, look, saying at half-time there when the studio was talking about what's the difference between Brendan Rodgers and Ange Postecoglou Celtic side. For me, there isn't a great deal. They both play really good attacking football. But Kyogo's positioning, and I would say he did it before because his movement was great.
Yeah.
But I think today he's just dropped into those pockets of space a little bit more than you saw previously, because he was always stretching the game. And he does naturally. He goes and stretches the game with his pace and his movement. But just once or twice more often than last season, the last couple of seasons, he's dropped into a little bit of space, as Packy says, pulling defenders out, and then they've had those midfield runners driving into the gaps, and it's been successful. They've been able to really pull the Ross County defence open on a few occasions this afternoon.
There's Taylor, central position at the edge of the County box, finds Kyogo, just wouldn't settle for him though. County get it half away. Here's Maida. Celtic looking to finish the game with a flourish, 15 to go. 4-1 up.
I would assume, Michael, and Sportsy, now I don't know if you're on this week, that would be almost stuff that you could actually show from a visual perspective, because it's great to watch. It's brilliant to watch if you get the right cameras.
You're on tomorrow, aren't you?
Yes, Liam. Yep.
Easter Road. As that flick ball comes all the way through to Laidlaw, who holds on. Brendan Rodgers has summoned James Forrest, the man who unfurled the flag before kick-off. And his stunning medal tally, Packy.
Yeah, it's interesting, the two wide men, Maeda and Abada on the other side. We haven't seen a lot of them. We haven't actually highlighted them that much in the game today, because it's a kind of a different way that they've got to play also.
Here's Hatate, wide in the right, low ball in, looking for Abada. Nightingale gets it away, but it breaks back Kyogo's way. He can't get a shot clear though. And County somehow survived that. It looked all the way, it was fortuitous, but it looked all the way as though Kyogo was going to score his second and Celtic's fifth.
It's not like him actually to pounce on that. Yeah. He just hesitated for a second, and the defender did really, really well to close him down and get the block in. But first time, there's somebody down injured at the moment in the penalty box.
Celtic player down.
I would assume
I think it's Abada who went into tried to get the initial cross and just made contact. I think it was Nightingale made the block, or perhaps Baldwin. Just a coming together between them.
He may have been coming off anyway with James Forrest. Would have been either he or Maida, I suppose. But they'll have to change that. If it was to be Maida, it's Abada who's down.
Yeah, I think it's James Brown also has taken that knock when he maybe went into that.
Well, maybe it was Brown that made the tackle. Yeah, maybe it was him. But touching on what Packy was saying there with Kyogo, that does not happen very often. Seldom do you see Kyogo being caught on his heels inside the box. He's normally the one that's so quick to react. And on that occasion, he was just ever so slightly on his heels. Touch caught him by surprise, and he wasn't able to get the strike away.
Sports Sound, BBC Radio Scotland, across the frequencies, on medium wave, on FM, on sounds, on digital, and online at bbc.co.uk/Sports Scotland here. So treatment being given to both James Brown and Liel Abada. They're both back on their feet, they're happy to say, with 12.5 minutes of the 90 to go here.
Yeah, I think you're right though, it's Abada coming off for James Forrest coming on. James is an interesting one, you know, again.
How much did he flourish under Brendan Rodgers the first time around?
Absolutely, I was going to say that. He actually developed so much under Brendan Rodgers, from a young player into a player who was really dynamic, but also defensively a part of his game too that he improved so much as a reaction when he lost the ball. Those were the key elements.
Nice reception for James Forrest in his testimonial the other night. He made a double change actually of Celtic, and they are bringing on one of the new South Korean signings, Hyun-Jun Yang, who gets his competitive debut.
You know, for James Forrest, that's I mean, look, you know, he's 32 now. It's a wee bit different from the David Turnbull scenario, but there is similarities in regards to he's a player who, on the periphery, injuries and such like with Ange Postecoglou, but you know that Brendan Rodgers likes him. There's a lot of competition for places. He was so good for Brendan Rodgers and vice versa. Brendan Rodgers took a player who had a lot of injuries, never really being as good as what people were expecting him to be or should be, and then he transformed himself into a mainstay.
The ball back into the county box is clear. What almost a brilliant immediate impact by Yang, who's just on. He dribbled his way into the county box. Eventually he was caught short as he gets it back on the far side. Now it's with O'Reilly. O'Reilly looking for some space to potentially cross here as we head towards the final 10 minutes at Celtic Park. County are going to make a change shortly as well, and young Dylan Smith is going to come on. He got plenty starting positions in the Malky Mackay's 11 last season, second half of the campaign. Here's Starfelt for Celtic. Back onto his right side, rolls it infield to Hatate and back to Carter Vickers, who finds Ralston. Out to that right hand side it goes for Yang. Overlapping him was Ralston, but the pass goes straight to Danda. Ralston slides in and it's away, but Celtic have it back. Hatate dinks it onto the chest of O'Reilly, back towards Reo Hatate, and breaks County's way. This time's Cal Turner who deals with it. Celtic 4, Ross County 1. We're in the final 10 minutes.
Yeah, Starfelt losing a strength there, just getting us up between the ball and the opposition player and just winning the throw-in. But yeah, a good start from Yang actually coming on. That's what you've got to do as a player coming off. You want to make an impact, get on the ball, demand the ball, go and take people on, and that's what he's done. And he's had more touches in the last minute or two for somebody coming on. Normally you see people just easing themselves into a game when they come on, but not Yang.
Yeah, Celtic exploiting the Asian market again, and a good start by Yang. Looks lively. Got in from Gangwon in his homeland, signed a 5-year deal. And most of Celtic's new signings come in on that kind of contract. Had 2 or 3 really good seasons out of them, and they would hope that they would make a serious profit from them as well. Even Celtic have to go down that model, albeit higher up the food chain than others. Dylan Smith will come on for Jordan White. He did get the county goal, but it was a brief moment of respite for Malky Mackay's team today. 4-1 it is to Celtic, and Jordan White comes off and Dylan Smith comes on. Yeah. Saw enough of Dylan Smith, Michael, last season, didn't we? And obviously he's a big talent. There were some difficult games. I specifically remember the one at Tynecastle, I think in particular, but they all had a horrid afternoon that day. But he's another one who'll be looking to kick on.
Yeah, they've kind of almost changed a little bit and put Baldwin in the middle of the pitch, and Smith's gone into his position at the back. I don't know whether I would throw him up front, you know, as a big striker or somebody, but in the middle of the pitch for a big centre half to go in there and play.
Quite happy, sign up to a 4-1 defeat at this point, just not get it any worse. And is at the feet of Smith just now as he returns it to his goalkeeper. Laidlaw right down the throat of the pitch there, bounces right through, and Carter Vickers will nod it back to Joe Hart. The Celtic supporters in the celebratory mood. Of course they'll be hoping to win their 54th league title this season from the business end of the campaign, as James Brown wins it back off Forrest down the near side, plays it off Forrest and out to play for a throw-in on this near side. But on James Forrest, Packy, 22 honours as a Celtic player.
Yeah.
I mean, if he wins a stays fit and wins a treble this season, he goes joint top with Bobby Lennox.
Yeah, and listen, he deserves everything he gets, and you know, his testimonial the other night, absolutely, for a young man, probably joined the club when he was maybe 8 or 9 years old, and has been here ever since. Total commitment to the club. Had his wee injury problems, but is still able. And I think under Brendan Rodgers you might see him feature a little bit more, because he can play that position slightly different, coming in off the line at times without the ball, filling the pockets, getting on the ball. We've seen him scoring goals also from that position, vital goals in European. And you know, at 32 years old now, it's important to have those type of players like himself and Callum around the dressing with all these new players coming and going, to just bed in what the traditions of the club is.
There's another new one on as well. Matt O'Reilly's come off and has been replaced by the 20-year-old Norwegian Odin Holm, who was brought in from Vålerenga. He finished 6th in the Norwegian top flight last season. Another real prospect, can play defensive midfield right in the middle and in an attacking position as well. So he's a versatile midfield player, but just 20, so it's another of Yang coming on. He's 21, so these guys are all, they're obviously top talents, but they're all prospects as well.
Yeah, he looks very lightweight though, doesn't he, in the middle of the pitch when you compare him to the rest. But listen, that's where Callum McGregor and all came from. Young boys starting off, didn't look physically maybe up to them. They've got to get time, they've got to be playing, they've got to get their physical attributes then up to speed.
Celtic with Ralston, up the line to Yang, who plays it in field to McGregor, deep inside his own half for Starfelt. Heading towards the final 5 minutes here at Celtic Park. Celtic leading by 4-1. Celtic's next game is at Pittodrie next Sunday against Aberdeen. Midday kick-off a week tomorrow. As the clip ball switched by Ralston right to left of the centre circle, finds Starfelt. Forward to Hatate, he's got it through towards Maida. Just overhit. Applause from his manager though. Right idea, and it's too close through to Ross Laidlaw, and it stays Celtic 4, County 1.
Yeah, just a little bit too much pace on the ball. Almost a wonderful slide rule pass there from Hatate for his countryman Maeda. He's quick, I was going to say, but not that quick.
There's Danda's good run by him. He's in the box, tries to pull it back, but it's cut out by Callum McGregor, and then rolls it with the right foot out to that far side. Now it is a chance for Celtic to counter with Hatate. Gets it from Yang, through towards Maida. Forrest waiting in the middle. Maida, first time. Forrest! Blocked by Laidlaw. That was the chance for Forrest. Again, it draws applause from his manager. And it stays at Celtic 4, Ross County 1 on 86.
Yeah, really good counter-attack from Celtic. Yang doing really well and almost in the right back position. And then 2-3 passes, they're up the pitch, and Maeda with his pace getting in. The goalkeeper did well, though. I've got to give a hand to him, because he read it really, really well, because he was almost outnumbered, but he just waited and bided his time to get himself out and spread himself.
I was just going to say, I wasn't 100% sure if it was Yang or not, but it was a wonderful little just drop of the shoulder and letting the ball roll across his body in that right back area that just started the attack. And then he slipped it into Hatate. Really, really quick attack there from Celtic.
There's Carter Vickers out to Ralston. Yeah, I mean, you look at the first 10-15 minutes and okay, it wasn't great from Celtic, but the cobwebs are going to be there. They've played friendly matches. This is their first competitive action. County had played 4 League Cup group matches coming into this, so they got their competitive season underway a few weeks ago now, so you can forgive Celtic that, and particularly when they are leading by 4-1 here.
Absolutely, Liam. I mean, look, yes, there's the first game of the season, there's always going to be things you want to improve on, but it looks like they're going to be winning the game 4-1. You would be taking that all day long.
Yeah, and listen, they've controlled probably about 80% of this game, that you know, after being under the cosh a little bit early on, but they've settled into it, and that will please Brendan Rodgers. And this is his first game. He'll be delighted himself.
Well, consider what happened in his first game last time around, Packy. He'll be elated.
Yeah, elated, and he knows that there's not really a honeymoon period, unfortunately, for Brendan this time, because the expectations there. He knows the club know him. They're expecting him to get off to the right start. So, and they have, and that will be the pleasing factor for him. So, any doubters, forget it today.
That defeat in Gibraltar to the Red Imps, albeit they overturned it, was an ignominious start for Brendan Rodgers, but he went on to have a dream domestic season that year. And that campaign, an invincible treble, as County with Dylan Smith under pressure from Maida goes back to his goalkeeper. We're about to go into the final minute of the 90. Laidlaw's taken way too long over it, and then he holds Maida. No foul, says Nick Walsh, and Laidlaw's got the ball in his hands, so he must have managed to get control of the ball before he pinned Maida to the deck. He's running a risk there initially, Laidlaw, before the challenge.
Well, he knows he's going to be closed down. You know, Maida, I talked about earlier, he does it. Kyogo, when he's on the pitch, does it. So you're given no rest. So you've got to be sure in your decision making. Make up your mind long before the ball comes to you.
David Turnbull named man of the match.
Yeah, I don't think there was any argument against that today with his goals and his assists and his ability, I think, throughout.
Celtic have it, 4-1 up, heading towards the stoppage time. And it's now picked up at the edge of the centre circle by Taylor. Here is Forrest, now Hatate. But County win it back. Here's Alex Samuel, who's bumped to the ground by Hatate. Free kick County on the halfway line. And the board goes up. Colin Stephen. 5 minutes added.
I know there's a free kick against Hatate, but the impressive thing there from him was his reaction. You know, he ran about 30 yards to close the player down, and that coupled with ability, if you've got that, then you'll always be in the manager's good books.
Bouncing ball, which Starfelt will nod back to Joe Hart. So we're in the first of the 5 that have been added. A reminder, team news to come here. Maybe some pre-match thoughts from as many managers as we can get in before 3 o'clock. Open all mics will take over. Dundee, Motherwell, Livingston, Aberdeen, St Johnstone against Hearts. The championship games were all of those. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on in Leagues 1 and 2 as well as we go along. And then at 5:15, Rugby Park, Kilmarnock against Rangers. Tomorrow, Hibs against St Mirren, 3 o'clock kickoff. Wednesday, Rangers Servette in Champions League qualifying. Then on Thursday, Rosenborg Hearts, Hibs Luzerne in Conference League qualifying. The draws, by the way, for those teams are on Monday for the next stage. So they will find out where they may be going should they get through those ties before they play those ties. It is Baldwin for County in possession. Long ball by Danda, up and under down this near side. Henderson chased it, it's headed away by Taylor, picked up by Brown midway inside the Celtic half, and Danda loses out to Forrest. Forrest moving up towards halfway now, flicks it with the outside of the boot to Holm, who's dragged to the, not to the ground, it's actually Turner who ended up on the deck there as he tried to pull the shirt of the Norwegian. Free kick goes Celtic's way, just inside their own half.
It's one way of stopping Celtic. It's probably the only way at this moment in time, because they're being outpassed around the pitch completely.
Starfelt with the free kick taken quickly to Auden Holm, back to Starfelt, and then moves up towards the halfway line. Square ball out to the left for Taylor. I noticed they don't do it here with the big scoreboards. The clock stops at 90 minutes, but I noticed in England, the English Football League are going to let the clock tick on beyond the 90 minutes, so you know how much stoppage time
That's a good idea.
is taking place. And given how much you get these days, not so much in this game, to be fair, 8 minutes in total will have been added by the end of this, assuming there's no more than the 5 that have been added on at the end of the second half. But it's just another little bit, might not seem like much, but it's a little bit of transparency.
Seems sensible to me, Liam.
It's going to be a free kick then to County. Level with the edge of the centre circle over on the left-hand side. Inside their own half. 2 minutes to play. Celtic leading 4-1. Long ball forward, up into the air it goes. Comes off the head of Nightingale. Chasing after it, Samuel. Looking right through to Joe Hart, who holds on, and Samuel bearing down on him.
The one thing you've got to say for Carl Starfelt is that he is improved his defensive qualities no end in the last year or two, and even there he showed real composure when that ball was played high. He just knocked it. It was almost a backheader to Joe Hart.
Yeah, they've improved him, haven't they? And he's playing on his wrong side. For most of his Celtic career, he's been on the left. He's obviously right-footed, but with Carter Vickers in beside him, you always expect him to start in that position. As County pick up another free kick. Baldwin side-footed to Danda to the left for Harmon. County have it with Randall. Rolls it back the way to Smith. Can Malky Mackay take from this game, Mikey?
I mean, look, he's coming up against the champions, the best team in the country. They started very well. They're going to end up on what looks like a 4-1 defeat.
It might be 4-2. Here it is, because James Brown scores inside the box. He cut back onto the left foot, and it's deflected past Joe Hart to bring County back to within 2 in the final minute of injury time. It will just be consolation. It's a good finish by James Brown in the end up. He enjoyed his little moment there. Celtic will win the game, but the scoreline is now Celtic 4, Ross County 2.
So they're not on the end of a 4-1 defeat, they're on the end of a 4-2 defeat. He's won the second half. There you go, that's what he can look upon. But I mean, look, over the piece, I think there's more than enough for Malky Mackay to be happy with and build upon. Although they're looking at a possible offside here for the deflected goal.
Yeah, he's got a kind of wry look in his face, James Brown. Hands on hips as he awaits the decision here. It's not going to affect the game.
Just from Celtic's perspective there, defensively the midfield needed to be a little bit more compact, especially when Brown picked it up and he cut on the inside of Greg Taylor, and it opened up for him, and there was nobody there to close the ball down, and then he took on the shot, and anything can happen then.
More 30 seconds over the 5 minutes, and the goal stands. The goal stands, so it is 4-2. That will annoy Joe Hart and Brendan Rodgers in particular.
Really annoys the goalkeeper, really, when you don't have very much to do from a defensive perspective, and you end up losing 2 goals in a game where you're really wanting to get that shutout, definitely.
That's it, it's all over. Celtic begin with victory. The season they hope will end in the title again, off the back of that record-breaking campaign where they won their 8th treble, their 53rd title. It was a difficult start to the proceedings. County came here, did well in the opening 10-15 minutes, but it was a David Turnbull penalty that got Celtic off and running on 17. He fired into the bottom right corner. Kyogo made it 2-0 9 minutes later after good work by Turnbull and Abada, before Turnbull himself made it 3 before the break. Teed up by a lovely chip back by O'Reilly at the byline. Turnbull finished. Should have had a hat-trick, because he should have scored 5 minutes before that as well when he was one-on-one with the keeper. Jordan White pulled it back to 3-1 on 61 with a header from a Danda corner, before O'Reilly smashed home after good set-up play by Kyogo to make it 4-1. And then another brief bit of solace for Ross County right at the end as James Brown's deflected effort went past Joe Hart to make the final score here on the opening day of the Premiership season, the opening game of the Premiership season for 23-24. Finished Celtic 4, Ross County 2.
On digital radio.